Alrighty, how are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Wolf, and this is going to be my actual league starter for Harvest League. Now, one thing to note is that I plan on playing only one character this league, maybe two, depending if I want to actually make something different, if I clear up to whatever my goals are. So this character is fucking juiced. I have the best of the best gear I can perceivably get in solo self-found to sort of give me a mark of what to chase, because if I am able to not burn out and keep playing for 3 months, I have a possibility of getting some of this gear. So yes, it is going to be made for SSF. Is it going to be SSF friendly for a casual who plays an hour a day? I don't know. You and your 17 wives, you might have a minor issue getting the weapon I have slotted in here. But if you want a character to last the whole league that you can work with, that's going to have a lot of options, it's going to have a lot of versatility depending on what drops you get, this is going to be a character for you. We are playing Bleed Earthquake Berserker. Now, we are missing a couple of things from the path of building. I'm using the community fork. I upgraded mine recently, and it's quite nice. Fist of War is not in yet because we don't know the numbers on it. I also don't know if it gives ailment modifiers. If it does, we're using it. If it doesn't, we're not using it. Seismic Cry is also not in either. Neither is the Empowered Enduring Cry. So I'm going to be using both of those and alternating between them depending on the scenario I need, because I can use Enduring Cry to give me endurance charges, and then I can use Seismic Cry for damage. Looking deeper in, I might just not run both of them and choose which one I want to go for, and then either find endurance charges elsewhere or find damage elsewhere. But this is what our skill tree looks like. We have gotten all of the new keystones. We're going Call to Arms because War Cries are instant is needed for slam characters, trust me, or you're going to have a real bad time. Resolute Technique is the standard for my builds. You can go crit if you want, but you have to re-engineer the whole thing. And this path of building is pretty much as tight as it can possibly get, damage-wise. So we have ailments everywhere, basically. We have Axe Cluster for onslaught and ailments, bleeding, a bit of life there. Bleeding and range, we get more bleed. Two-handed ailments, more bleed, and Hatchet Master for more bleed. Some of the notable things that they changed in the upcoming league is Hatchet Master gives +5 maximum rage, and Berserking gives +10 maximum rage. So now we're calculating 65. Also, this damage is on the endgame boss. So, yeah. Yeah, we're also going for a Timeless Jewel because there are two different ones we can opt for. There is Chainbreaker, which is right here, which regenerates 3 rage per second and loses 5 rage when you hit an enemy, which is capped. So every slam you'll lose 5. And then technically, because we're taking Crave the Slaughter, you will empower it. You'll take your 5 rage, and then it'll hit, and it'll give you 1 back. So you're technically using 4, and you're getting 1 rage. Alright, it's a 1 rage deficit for 3 per second. So we'll be rolling this more than likely off of a Timeless Jewel. Alternatively, there's another Timeless Jewel that gives you 1 extra rage on hit. If we're going that route, we can also slot in Rage Support to give us 3 rage per slam. One of the other nice things is you lose rage a lot slower due to the new nodes near Berserking. Alright, Ascendancy, simple enough. Crave, Rite of Ruin, Pain Reaver, Aspect. This is a mana solution. Take it early on. It'll fix your leveling. Warbringer, I'm not entirely sure how Exerts are going to math with the bleed. If it's worth it, maybe. We'll see. I am running Pain Reaver, obviously, for mana problems. Alternatively, you could go Warbringer, cut Pain Reaver, and just pop over here for Mana Leech. That will solve that problem if Exerts actually synergize well with this, because since we're using Seismic Cry, we are doing Exerts. But this also sacrifices Rage, and I don't know how much I really want to sacrifice my Rage in this sort of build, because if we go below 25, we lose stun immunity. I'd rather have it just be consistent, and with Chain Reaver we can stay or Chainbreaker, sorry, we can stay at 65, so I don't really want to use this version of Warbringer personally. I want to just kind of keep this setup as is, but you can take that route if you want to look towards more exerts and this sort of fancy stuff. This is quite open. We're 86 at the moment. You can go whatever way you want to. You are, of course, going to want to do the Timeless Jewel stuff, but there is some damage you can cut if you want more life. There's some life you can cut if you want more damage, if you're feeling really frisky. But we're looking at about 4.6k-ish life, roughly about 5k if you want to optimize for that, or you get top rolls on gear. And that's pretty much the tree. Intelligence will need to be picked up as needed. There's a couple of blue things in here. I'm trying to catch up what it is. It's the curse on hit, so this doesn't actually matter because this can be level 1. So we don't actually have intelligence requirements at all. So, yeah. With seeing that, actually, I don't need this either. Okay, now I do need that. So we'll leave that one in. But yeah, that is the skill tree. Simple enough. Basically, ailments with everything, axe nodes, bleed nodes, onslaught, a couple of keystones, instant war cries, life, rage, bleed. Yeah. Alright, into skills. We're running Vol Earthquake. Yes, the Vol Earthquakes will also apply bleed and apply aftershocks and all that sort of stuff. And be aftershocks and whatnot. So with that, if you're running the rage setup to generate rage, the Vol Aftershocks will gen you a bunch of rage because they hit really quickly. So you'll start a map, do a big slam, get Vol Earthquake, drop your Vol Earthquake, run through the whole map, and it'll cap your rage if you're not playing the Chainbreaker style. So that is how you do that. That part is actually important if you're wanting to play the build. I know some people miss these sorts of really small things and miss interactions. So if you want to play this build, go back and listen to that bit again because it's important. The curse on hit the leap slam setup that I've been using recently, giving us vulnerability. You could opt for a Impresence if you're rich enough, I guess. You could also blasphemy this rather than using pride, but the issue with blaspheming a curse with earthquake is you slam the pack and you jump in, right? You got your blasphemy aura, you slam the pack and then you jump away, and the blasphemy aura is up here, and the earthquake explodes with the aftershock where most of the damage is, and you see you're not hitting the target with the curse, right? You see the problem. You've jumped away, your blasphemy area is gone, and the curse is gone off the target. So this is a setup to basically avoid that, because you leap in, you'll curse them, and then, you know, you'll hit them, and the curse will persist as the explosion goes off while going to the next pack. Damage modifiers, we're going Flesh and Stone, Warbanner, Pride. Just leave the banner on your back, drop it on bosses. Other than that, not really worth dropping. Pride, really good for bossing. Not too bad, just in general. As I said, you can cut Pride if you want to go for a different option. I don't have the new and updated Herald of Purity yet. Maybe it's better. We'll see. I'll keep you updated on that one. And yeah, I mean, Pride can go if you want to take a different option. If you want maybe more defenses or something. But other than that, Flesh and Stone and Blood Stance to Maim is quite nice. I think you can slot this with Maim support as well if you want to do that route. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but enemies Maim supported by this skill take increased physical damage. Might as well. We're down to, what, 12%? We can still slam twice. Yeah, that's no issue. So there's your 4-link. That links together quite nicely. Gives us bonus damage. Constantly maims everyone around us, which means one of the rolls on our axe can actually change. Blood Rage gives us frenzy charges for attack speed and that sort of stuff. You don't need a Blood Rage if you don't want to, but frenzy charges are quite nice for that little bit of extra speed. Cast when Stone Golem, you could maybe do something different here if you want to mess around, but this is just nice defensive layering, makes it so our degen doesn't kill us while leveling. Steel Skin Self-Cast is very good for defensive layering. Could maybe go Vault Molten Shell if you want, I guess, but then Reflect will kill you, like Elemental Reflect will kill you. So Self-Cast Steel Skin React, it works quite well. War Cries, we're going Enduring Cry, Seismic Cry, and we will be using both of them, alternating between. Depending on playstyle, I may cut one or the other. depending how we go. Enduring Cry is required to get endurance charges unless we find a different way through alternate means. So the way I'm going to set up my keybinds will be, I'll have Steel Skin, Seismic Cry, Enduring Cry, the other way around for me. Leap Slam, Blood Rage, and War Banner will be all of my pressable keybinds, and that's the build. It fits the whole one bar. You don't have to do any keybind shenanigans, and you alternate between war cries depending on what you need at the time. So that is our setup here, and then we move into itemization. This is where the character gets really spicy. Like I said, this is top of the top end, so you're going to look at this axe, and you're going to say, how the fuck do I achieve this? And that is a good question, because we are going to be grinding Warlord's Influence, because of course I want to play for a long time. We're going to be grinding Warlord's Influence to try and get a Warlord's Axe, and if I can manage that, I'm then going to craft it with bleed fossils until I get something insane. I'm not going to settle for a weapon, I am just going to keep rolling and rolling and rolling until I get 60% chance for bleeds inflicted with this weapon to deal 100% more damage. I think someone's cutting their fucking lawn outside. I swear, the people around me are like, they have a sexual addiction to cutting their lawn. They do it like every day. It's weird. And then there's a roll from Warlords that gives you percent increased damage with bleeding. It goes up to like 150% or something like that. I can just show you. It's wild. So this is the prefix roll, and it goes 120 to 129, and yeah, it's really good. I had a mace last league that rolled 133 on this. It's good. It's good. It's good. So, and then there's a suffix for more damage with bleeds. There's also a fizz chance to maim roll that comes off of Warlords. Obviously, this is the best of the best. Any roll combination of this weapon will work. You just want decent fizz, damage with bleeding, the big damage from bleeding modifier here, then the fossil roll, and anything else you can supplement in is nice. You can probably craft the damage over time on the bench if you're not able to get that any other ways. So this roll is probably not going to happen. This is gettable, this is gettable, this is gettable, this is questionable, this is craftable. So just with fossils on a Warlord's Axe base, you can get 80% of the weapon. Well, math-wise, 60% of the weapon, which would still wind up being pretty good. So, quite achievable. Now, moving forward, I have an Earthquake Helmet. This is going to take a long time to get, but also possible. Nearby enemies take increased physical damage, I believe is from a fossil roll, so something to work for later on, because I believe you can re-roll... what is it? I think you could re-roll things and still keep the enchant, right? If not, you got to do it the other way around and then build your perfect item, then enchant it. But just run lab for a while until you get tilted and don't want to run lab anymore. Tri-Res Astral Plate. I can craft these quite easily. They're very easy to make. So any modifier on this works. If you get a Elder Astral Plate with percent life on kill, you're a god. Put it that way. Then we have Warlord's Spiked Gloves. Doesn't have to be spiked, it can just be Warlord's Gloves in general, Warlord's armor-based gloves, and then we're going to repeat roll those until we get percent damage over time, and added fizz with life and resist. Then if you get Culling Strike, that's a niche thing. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So get a Warlord's pair of armor gloves, roll it for damage over time. Or Hemophilias, if you're in trade, and just blow up everything. Oh, talking really fast, I guess, to you. Titan Greaves, movement speed, boots with max life tri-res. Obviously, penultimate gear, as I said. And this is where it gets insane. Hunter Necklace with a lot of good mods. Obviously, we're not going to be able to get all of these, but if you can get any combination of them, you're off to the races. The big one is global fizz damage, the physical overtime multiplier, or ailments. Any of those are the sort of ones you want to look towards. You don't need the +1 all skills, right? You do lose a decent amount, obviously, with the Path of Building, but you don't need that. Anything that looks like this is achievable. Subterranean is, I believe, either craftable or fossilable. Of the Underground, I believe, has a fossil, and this is a Hunter modifier. So any hunter necklace will work for you. Obviously, if we're playing the character for a long time, we want to grind for those sorts of things. Yeah, I'll cut that because I highly doubt that roll will ever happen. But yeah. So any combination of that is what we want to look for. And you can craft on whatever else you need, resists, stats if need be, that sort of stuff. And then we go down to our rings, which are going to be craftable with bleed fossils. I'm going to have to farm a lot of bleed fossils this league. But we're going double steel rings with Warlord's affix. You're not going to be able to get it on steels unless you're in Trade League, but double rings in general with Warlords, if possible, because I'm going to set up a Warlords farm, or try to try and get the axe, or an axe. So I'm going to assume a pair of rings are probably going to drop. If they don't, then we're going to be big sad, and we just go for like life resist rings. But if I get any rings, any base type, steel is obviously penultimate, but if I get any base type of rings, I'm going to look to craft something like this with ailments and increased bleeding duration, both of which come from Warlords itself. I think this comes from Bleed Fossil, but yeah. So life, res, fist to attacks is also nice, but any Warlords ring, Bleed Fossil, you're in business. Or just repeat Alkt if you really want to take that route too. You're gonna hopefully find something pretty nice. If you can get 2 of those, damage skyrockets even farther. Stygian Vise is going to be the belt with increased global fizz damage and damage with ailments. Subterranean here and of the underground here as well. This is Bleed Fossil mod, I believe. So we're going to be doing a lot of Bleed Fossiling, like I said. And then in the Vise, we want a added fist to attacks if possible, life if possible, increased damage over time while wielding a two-handed weapon. It's the small sorts of damage bonuses that will eventually add up. And then in our flasks, we have sulfur for flat damage, which I don't actually have turned on. Just turn all these fellas on because you'll probably be pianoing them. This is curse immunity. If you can manage to get the alchemists for bonus effect, pop this on a boss, pop this between slams. Just keep it up as much as you can, really. Quicksilver of movement, granite of freeze removal, panicked life flask of staunching to remove bleed, and potentially another quicksilver in here as well. Or if you anoint Whispers of Doom, you can go for Witchfire Brew, giving you Despair. That is top of the top of the top. So, yeah. And then I talked about the socket, because that is where the time-worn jewel goes, giving us the Chainbreaker stuff that I talked about. So, yeah, that is my current planned League starter. This is an Earthquake Berserker that I hope it goes all the way. I don't know how the AoE is going to look. I don't know how the Vol version is going to look. I don't exactly know how the Rage is going to play out. But with Chainbreaker as a possibility, I know everything is going to probably be fine. And this is going to be a character that scales exponentially with gear. The weapon primarily, because you want all of the bleed stuff. And yeah, here's our setup, by the way. This setup's not really interchangeable, because this gives you a ton of physical damage. Yeah, that gives you a ton of physical damage. This gives you a ton of bleed damage. These are all more multipliers on bleed, so more bleed, more bleed. More bleed on third hit. We want 1 big bleed going, right? So Ruthless is insane here. Fortify also gives a lot of constant bleed. There's more damage if you put Maim here, but constant Fortify 24/7 off of this is really good, right? Just 24/7 Fortify is great. Plus it gives damage with ailments, well, more damage with ailments. And potentially Fist of War goes in there over, I don't know, maybe Fortify, if it's got ailment modifiers on it. But yeah, that is going to bring us to the end of my planned and proposed League starter for Harvest League. This is going to be interesting. It gives me a lot of chase potential, gives me a lot of pieces to work towards, and gives me something to build towards pretty much every day, which is going to be really useful for me to be able to set myself a goal of, okay, today we're farming fossils, okay, today we're farming warlords, okay, today we're farming XYZ. It's going to be quite nice. But yeah, let me know what you guys are League starting in the comments. And as always, take care, gentlemen.